Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all having a great and wonderful day. Well, Zohran Mamdani is looking like he's most likely going to sweep the actual new mayor's election here in New York City, which means it's doomsday for New York. We already have multiple times to where people are out or straight up saying that we're going to leave if Mamdani gets in, and which that's probably going to be the case here. And I think a lot of New Yorkers are going to find out real quick on how bad things are going to get when Mamdani gets into office. So the big thing here is that he's planning to release or empty Riker's Island, which holds 7,000 inmates. So 7,000 inmates will just be allowed to walk the streets of New York City. So that doesn't seem very good. So we're going to go over this. So we have this here. Cuomo slams Mamdani's plan to empty Riker's inmates onto city streets as New York City faces looming public safety crisis. It says here, with Riker's closure scheduled for 2027, Mamdani jail's proposal does not provide enough beds to house all inmates, putting community safety at risk. Mamdani is advancing radical DSA agenda to close local jails and free all prisoners. Now, Cuomo is not a good candidate. I don't think he's a good choice. However, I think he might actually be he might be a bit better than Mamdani because Mamdani is just going to destroy New York. It will be completely obliterated by Mamdani. But I think it's the only way for New Yorkers to really realize on how stupid they are and when they vote for socialism. And it's just a matter of time until it really causes problems. Andrew Cuomo, candidate for mayor of New York City today, sharply criticized Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani's reckless proposal to shutter Rikers Island without a viable alternative, warning that his commitment to implement Mayor Bill de Blasio's failed four-borough jail scheme would empty Rikers prisoners onto city streets, even as the plan remains behind schedule and billions over budget. The Mamdani de Blasio plan envisioned a capacity of 3,300 beds, less than half the current Rikers population, which exceeded 7,000 inmates in March of 2025. Without enough beds to house all of the prisoners, this will result in placing these inmates into communities without taking into consideration the level of dangerousness and public consideration input across the 5 boroughs. So, that's what we have here. And I'm not going to go through the full thing here with the release because we're going to go over this as well. We have this here from Clown World, which we're not going to really do too much. It says New York City was once a shining example of American exceptionalism, where New York leads, America follows. That's why we must end Mamdani's mayhem. Zohran Mamdani radical plan emptying Rikers Island, pulling over 7,000 inmates back on our streets. Now, the problem is that New York has not been a shining example of American exceptionalism for years now, probably decades. It's been a complete chaotic place, and this is not a good example of what's been going on. And this is what Mamdani had to say about all this.
The jail population of Rikers has increased since Eric Adams has come into office by more than 1,000 additional incarcerated New Yorkers. And what is quite staggering to me is that we know that we can reduce that jail population to less than 4,000. I mean, Vital City had an article about a number of different proposals that could reduce it to 3,700. And some of this also just has to look at the average stay on Rikers in the 90s was 50 days. Now it's more than 100. There are more than 1,500 people on Rikers who have been held there for more than a year. So I do think many of the reforms that have to be made are also reforms around the court system and ensuring that people are actually having speedy. The jail population of Rikers has increased.
This is not really a good thing at all. This is a problem. He really wants to remove this. And we have this here from Creamance when she says, this person says, holy crap, Mamdani really just committed to closing Rikers even though it'll mean releasing 7,000 criminals. The federal government should sooner place New York under emergency federal administration than allow this to happen, says Will Chamberlain. And what we have here is that says, how many inmates does Rikers Island have? And it says, as of early October 2025, Rikers Island held approximately 7,000 inmates. The average daily population for September 2025 was 7,060. That's a lot of people, and the fact that you would be letting out these people out on the street, it doesn't even matter. Even if you let out 3,000 people or what have you, it doesn't solve the problem. And then we go with the crime rate of New York City per 100,000. Because as of October 19th, New York City Department reports that following year-to-date totals for the 7 major index crimes, 261 murders, 1,626 rapes, 12,236 robberies, 23,933 felony assaults, and 10,092 burglaries, 38,219 grand larcenies, and 11,096 grand larcenies auto, for a total of 97,000 index crimes. This represents a 3.51% decrease compared to the same period in 2024. Using New York's estimated population of 8,478,000 as of mid-2024, the most recent official figure available, and exaggerating the year-to-year date to estimate a full year 2025 rates, the crime rates per 100,000 are across as follows. Violent crime rate is 47,000 violent index crimes, and rate of 100,000 residents, a decrease from 506 per 100,000 in 2023. That's not really an accomplishment, right? Like that's still really bad. Property crime rate, burglary, grand larceny auto, estimated annual 74,000, rates 876 per residence, so 100,000 residents. So this is all really bad. It's 1,500 per resident, what we have here. And if we go down to the actual violent crime rate, which it says, as of the latest NYPD data through October 19th, 2025, New York City's estimated annual violent crime rate covering murder, rape, robbery, and felony assault for 2025 is approximately 561 per 100,000 residents. This estimates attributes year-to-date figures to a full year, assuming consistent trends, and uses the city's most recent official population estimate of 8,478,000 people. So again, what we have here is that murder is down by 15.5% year over year. It's 261. A 3.2% increase, which is not a lot considering it was a 2024, and grape which is 1,726, is up 18.6 year over year. That's insane. And you have robbery down 1.5 over year, and then you have felony assault, which is down 7.6 over year. So murder might be down, but rape is up, and robbery and felony assault is up or down, barely anything. So to arrive at the estimate of annual rate, the violent crimes, 267, etc., determine the factor of the year, exaggerates the full year, 38,000 equals 47,570 estimate annual crimes, and then calculate per 100,000 is 561. So this is not really good here. This is really, really bad. And this is going to be even worse when you release all these inmates out onto people. And Trump had a response to this, to the open borders attract some of the meanest and most violent criminals, what have you. And his thoughts are leading on New York City Mayor candidate Zohran Mamdani's promise to close Rikers Island if elected. He responded.
Last night's New York City mayoral debate, Zohran Mamdani said he would close Rikers Island if elected. What kind of impact would that have on public safety?
Well, it's not good. I guess it's not a very nice place, but you need it. You need something. You have a lot of additional people in New York City that should not have been here. They came here through the open border, through Biden's. I don't know how they even do it. New York City's always been tight for money. And then they spend, $8 billion, and nobody complains about it, on people that just showed up and they just came out of nowhere. Where did they get the money? All of a sudden they have money. I tell you what, we have to keep our prisons very fair and very safe, but you get a lot of criminals. We have a lot of additional criminals. I used to talk about it. They used to say, well, only good people come in from foreign countries. I said, that's not right. I didn't know that for a fact, but it had just started, right? The open borders and people flowing in by the millions. They make our criminals look like the nicest people on earth. That's the only good thing. They make our criminals look like nice people. They are the meanest, the most vicious. Tren de Aragua, you don't get any sicker. They cut people's fingers off because they called the cop. Did you call the cop? Yes. They cut off his finger so he can't call the cop anymore. And then they say, next time we're going to cut off your hand if you cut, because they took over his apartment in Colorado. Colorado, they took over a town, then they took over another town, and you have a weak governor over there. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing, so he lets it go on. But we're getting.
And the point of all this is, guys, is that if Zohran Mamdani gets in, the housing and everything is going to collapse. Everything is going to go down. Is going to go downhill. And then when you have this happen in terms of with the crime, and since he wants to release so many criminals out of jail, he doesn't believe in actual sentences, etc. This is going to be catastrophic for New York. But all I have to say is that people are going to have to learn the hard way. The New Yorkers are going to have to learn the hard way in a very, very brutal and nasty hard way until they realize that this is not the way, and they won't be able to remove him until much later. And until the New Yorkers find this out or learn this the hard way, it won't be pretty. I'm not looking forward to the horrible things that's going to happen in New York. I will report on it, but it's just not going to be pretty. And Mamdani is really going to destroy New York. I think he's going to win, and I think New York is done. This is what happens when you elect socialists into your country, or rather your city. And this is not going to go well. All right, guys, that's it for the video. Let's guys share. As always, take care, my friends.